The sound of a doorbell pierces through the night. A police officer stands at the front door, responding to what seems like a routine noise complaint. But in the next few minutes, that officer will stumble upon something that will change a child's life forever. There's a dark truth we need to face. Some kids spend years trapped in nightmares, waiting for someone to notice, waiting for someone to care. But when help finally arrives, that moment of rescue becomes the dividing line between their past and future. I'm going to take you through 5 real cases where officers arrived just in time. Some of these stories might be hard to hear, but they need to be told. Because sometimes, the difference between tragedy and rescue comes down to a single moment, a single choice, or a single person who refuses to look away. Let's start in Portland, Oregon, December 2022. The radio crackles to life at 2 a.m. Officer Rachel Martinez is wrapping up her shift when the call comes in. A neighbor reports strange sounds coming from the house next door. They can hear a child crying. Unit 247, respond to 1834 Pine Street for a noise complaint. Caller reports possible domestic disturbance. Martinez pulls up to a small blue house. All the lights are off except for a dim glow from an upstairs window. As she approaches the front door, she hears it. A sound that makes her stomach drop. A child's muffled sobbing, followed by a sharp crash. She doesn't hesitate. Martinez radios for backup and announces her presence. "Portland Police, open the door!" No response. The crying gets louder. Another crash. Martinez makes a split-second decision. Later, she'll say it wasn't really a decision at all. It was instinct. She kicks the door open. The house is dark, cluttered. The air feels thick, heavy with something wrong. Martinez follows the sounds upstairs, her flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. The crying leads her to a closed door. What she finds inside will haunt her for years. 8-year-old Tommy is huddled in the corner of what should be a child's bedroom. But this isn't a normal kid's room. There's no bed, just a thin blanket on the floor. No toys, no books. The windows are covered with thick black trash bags taped to the frames. Tommy flinches when the light hits him. He's wearing dirty clothes that are way too small. His arms are covered in bruises, but it's his eyes that hit Martinez hardest. They're the eyes of someone much older, someone who's seen too much. His father stands over him, belt in hand. "Police, show me your hands! Get on your knees!" The father spins around, dropping the belt. "This isn't what it looks like," he starts to say. But Martinez has seen enough. As her backup arrives, they learn the full story. Tommy's mother died 2 years ago. His father, James Wilson, started drinking heavily. The abuse began slowly at first. A push here, a slap there. Then it escalated. Tommy hadn't been to school in months. Wilson told the school his son was being homeschooled. Nobody checked, nobody asked questions. Until tonight. While other officers handle Wilson, Martinez kneels down next to Tommy. She keeps her distance, knowing he's terrified. "Hey, buddy," she says softly. "You're safe now. No one's going to hurt you anymore." Tommy doesn't move at first. Then, slowly, he looks up at her. "Promise?" "I promise." That's when Tommy does something that brings tears to Martinez's eyes. He reaches for her hand. But Tommy's story is just the beginning. Let's head to Cincinnati, where another child's cry for help came in an unexpected way. It's a sunny afternoon in September 2023. Madison Parker, a server at a local diner, notices something odd about one of her customers. A quiet girl, maybe 10 years old, sitting with who appears to be her mother. The girl keeps her head down, barely touching her food. But what catches Madison's attention is the napkin. While her mother is distracted with her phone, The girl carefully writes something on it. Please help. Not safe. Madison's heart races. She takes the napkin while clearing plates, making sure to keep her expression neutral. As soon as she's in the kitchen, she calls 911. Officers Joseph Chen and Lisa Rodriguez arrive within minutes, parking their cruiser around the corner. They enter the diner separately, trying not to draw attention. The girl, we'll call her Emily, notices them immediately. Her eyes widen with hope and fear. The woman with her notices too. She stands up abruptly, grabbing Emily's arm. We're leaving. That's when Chen steps forward. Ma'am, we need to speak with you. What happens next happens fast. The woman shoves Emily aside and runs for the door. Rodriguez catches her before she makes it to the parking lot. Emily stands frozen, trembling. Chen approaches her carefully. You're really brave, you know that? He says. Writing that note, that was really smart. Emily starts to cry, but these aren't tears of fear. They're tears of relief. The woman isn't Emily's mother. She's Diane Foster, who had taken Emily from a playground in Kentucky 3 weeks ago. Emily's real parents had been searching desperately for their daughter. The reunion at the police station is something no one present will ever forget. Emily's parents burst through the doors, and for a moment, time seems to stop. Then Emily runs to them, and they collapse together in a tangle of hugs and tears and I love yous. But not every rescue starts with a cry for help. Sometimes, it starts with someone simply paying attention. March 2023, Seattle. School counselor Michael Torres notices something about 6-year-old Sophia Mitchell. She's always hungry at school, devouring her lunch like she hasn't eaten in days. She wears the same clothes repeatedly, even when they're dirty. She flinches when anyone raises their voice. Torres has seen these signs before. He starts documenting everything, building a case. He talks to Sophia's teachers, who share their own concerns. Sophia often comes to school with unexplained bruises. She's withdrawn, barely speaks. When Torres finally calls Child Protective Services, he has pages of documentation. Police officers Samantha Wells and David Cooper are assigned to do a welfare check. They arrive at the Mitchell house on a Wednesday afternoon. The front yard is overgrown, littered with trash. Empty bottles glint in the sunlight. Sophia's mother answers the door, clearly high on something. She's aggressive, defensive. You can't come in without a warrant. But they can, and they do. The house is a nightmare. No food in the fridge, needles on the coffee table, the smell of rot and neglect everywhere. They find Sophia in a closet, huddled under a pile of dirty clothes. She's been hiding there for hours, afraid to come out while her mother's boyfriend is in the house. Officer Wells will never forget what Sophia says when they find her. Are you angels? No, sweetheart, Wells answers, fighting back tears. We're just people who want to help you. The rescue is just the beginning. Sophia goes to live with her grandmother, who's been trying to get custody for years. She starts therapy. Slowly, she begins to heal. 6 months later, she visits the police station with her grandmother. She brings Officer Wells a drawing, stick figures of 2 people holding hands. That's you and me, she explains, the day you saved me. But sometimes, the most heartbreaking rescues happen when children save themselves. Phoenix, Arizona, July 2023. It's 112 degrees outside when 11-year-old Marcus walks into a convenience store. He's barefoot, dehydrated, desperate. The store clerk, Roberto Mendez, knows something's wrong the moment he sees him. You okay, kid? Marcus shakes his head. I ran away. They keep me in the basement. Please don't make me go back. Mendez calls 911 immediately. Officers Catherine Newman and James Wilson arrive within minutes. Marcus tells them everything. His foster parents, the Reeves, seemed perfect on paper. But behind closed doors, they were monsters. They kept him locked in their basement, only feeding him every few days. They made him sleep on the concrete floor. They told him if he ever tried to escape, they'd kill him. But today, they forgot to lock the door. Marcus waited until they left for work, then ran. The officers drive Marcus back to the house, not to return him, but to gather evidence. What they find confirms every word of his story. The basement is a torture chamber. Chains bolted to the wall, a bucket in the corner for a bathroom, writing scratched into the concrete. Someone help. When the Reeves return home from work, they find police waiting. They try to claim Marcus is lying, that he's troubled, that he makes up stories. But the evidence doesn't lie. Later at the police station, Officer Newman sits with Marcus while they wait for his social worker. "You know what you did today?" she asks him. Marcus shakes his head. "You saved yourself. That takes more courage than most adults have." For the first time, Marcus smiles. But our final story shows that sometimes rescue comes from the most unexpected places. It's a quiet Sunday morning in Minneapolis, January 2024. The temperature is well below freezing when mail carrier Patricia Rodriguez notices something unusual on her route. Every day for the past week, she's seen the same little face in the window of 247 Maple Street. A girl, maybe 7 years old, pressing her hands against the glass. Today, the girl holds up a piece of paper. "Help." Rodriguez doesn't hesitate. She calls 911 while continuing her route, trying not to draw attention. Officers Nathan Carter and Maria Thompson respond to the call. They knock on the door, announcing themselves as police. No answer. They knock again. Still nothing. But they can hear movement inside. And then, a scream. Carter kicks the door in. They rush inside to find a scene of horror. The house is filthy, with barely any furniture. And there, in what should be the living room, they find 7-year-old Hannah. She's severely malnourished, covered in bruises. Her aunt, her legal guardian since her parents died in a car crash, has been keeping her prisoner in the house for months. The aunt is found hiding in the bathroom. She fights the officers, screaming that Hannah is evil, that she deserved it. But Hannah isn't listening to her aunt anymore. She's looking at Officer Thompson with a mix of fear and hope. "Are you really here?" she whispers. "Am I really getting out?" Thompson wraps her jacket around Hannah's shoulders. "Yes, sweetheart. You're really getting out." Each of these stories represents a moment when everything changed. A moment when the darkness finally broke and light came rushing in. A moment when an abused child realized they were finally, truly safe. These moments happen because someone cared enough to notice, to act, to help. A police officer following their instincts. A server paying attention to a napkin. A school counselor documenting his concerns. A mail carrier taking a child's plea seriously. These rescues remind us that we all have the power to be someone's hero. All it takes is paying attention, speaking up, making that call. Because for a child trapped in abuse, that call might be the difference between tragedy and hope, between darkness and light, between suffering and salvation. Remember Tommy, Emily, Sophia, Marcus, and Hannah. Remember that right now, there might be other children just like them, waiting for someone to notice, waiting for someone to care. Don't look away. Don't stay silent. Be the person who makes that call. Because sometimes, all it takes is one person to change a child's whole world. Subscribe if you want to hear more stories of rescue and redemption. Together, we can help bring more children from darkness into light.